Yes. Okay. Thanks, Kelly. Our second speaker is Frank from somewhere.
Somewhere, state of denial.
I don't know.
Savannah.
Oh, Savannah, and he will be speaking on sponsorship.
All right, thank you. Hey, I'm an addict named Frank.
Hi, Frank.
From Savannah, Georgia. I'm glad to be here tonight. I'm glad this room's kind of small. It's kind of typical for the meetings I usually go to. The topic I got tonight was sponsorship. When I talked to Mitch, he said, what do you want to talk about? I said, sponsorship. And he said, yeah, that's great. I said, that's right up my alley. I'm like most addicts when I got here, fun because like I heard Kelly share, I didn't feel like I was smart enough. I wasn't fast enough. I wasn't good looking enough. Whatever it was, I just wasn't enough. But when I found using it, it was like, oh yeah, we're all on the same plane and I fit right in. And like most addicts, it was like from going to having fun to when I became a full-blown addict. I couldn't tell you when that happened. I couldn't tell you what drug it was, what day it was, when it happened, or what it was. All I knew it did happen. It went from having fun to where I just couldn't stop. And when I got to that point, I didn't know what to do. It was really crazy. I'd gotten married in my active addiction. I met this woman, and she worked as a waitress. So she'd get off work, and she'd come over after work and bring a bottle of wine and a bag of dope and screw my brains out. And I was in love. I thought that's what love was, And needless to say, through that process, through that relationship, we had a couple of kids, and my addiction took off. And I got to the point to where I couldn't stop. I wound up in the hospital with a case of hepatitis C. Wanted to get clean. I knew it was the dope that got me there. As soon as I got out of the hospital that morning, that night I was using again. That's when I knew I needed help and I didn't know what to do. So it's like most typical addicts, it's like they sent me home and said, we'll give you a check. It's like, oh yeah, that's what you could have did for me, right? I was killing myself during that time. I really was. And I wasn't paying the rent. I wasn't being responsible. I wasn't doing all the things I was supposed to do, and I remember the ex-wife was going to call the cops on me. She went down the corner. We didn't have a phone. And I was sitting on the stove and the light bulb went above my head, saying, maybe it's the drugs that are causing you to live like this. And it was like, that was my moment of clarity. And I said, I needed help. And I finally got honest. I finally got honest with myself. I got honest with the people around me. I said, look, I got a drug problem. I need help. And everybody's like, yeah, we know it for years. And I was like, wow, I thought I was hiding it so well. And my mother-in-law at the time, she was in the other fellowship, and I knew nothing about that. Knew nothing about 12-step programs. But I knew they talked about that Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde syndrome. And I knew what that was because I seen that in her when she was drinking and when she was not drinking. So when I got here and I heard that, oh, I get that. I know what that's about. But she told me about this Narcotics Anonymous meeting. And I went to my first meeting having no idea what I was stepping into. The only thing I knew about that meeting was where it was at, what time it was, and I walked into that meeting and I was like totally clueless. The only thing I remember about that is they gave me a white book, they gave me a white key tag. They made me feel welcome and they told me to keep coming back. And it was the first time in a long time that I felt welcomed anywhere. Because I was used to, white boy, you got to go if you ain't got no money. That's what I was used to hearing. So having that experience, it was like, okay, they gave me a schedule and I was like, there might be something to this, but I didn't know what, And I got a sponsor, my first sponsor, he was chairing that meeting that night. And I was listening to this guy sharing, he was talking about how he used to think he could make it rain. And he had to deal with this guy wearing his skin. And I thought, man, this can't last after just one day too long, And he became my sponsor. I realized that he had some time and he had some experience in his fellowship. And that's what I needed. I needed people that knew how this worked. And so I would come back to that meeting and he would say, you need to do 90 and 90. And I'm going like, well, I can only do like maybe 3, maybe 4. And I came in at 85. It took me to 86 before I finally got it. And I came in for a couple months because I'd come in going like this. I just need to clean up. I need to get my act together and I can just go back doing some of the things I like to do, but not, as long as I don't do this, I'll be okay. And that's what I thought, and they told me real cool stuff. They said, you got a choice today. You never have to use. And when I heard that, I'm like, wow, nobody ever told me that. Nobody ever told me I had a choice. And they said, you got to change playgrounds, your playmates, and your playthings. And I went, well, I'm willing to do that to a point. But I still thought there were places I could go, people I could hang out with, and things that I could still do. One by one, each one of those things took me out. I used to think, well, I could go to the meeting and then I could go hang out at the bar because I'm just shooting pool. That didn't work. I thought there were people I could still hang out with because, I've known these guys forever. That didn't work because, I was using addict to pull you down quicker than you'll pull them up. I thought there were things I could still do and I couldn't do them. So one by one, I had to let those things go and I just didn't know how to do it. But the one thing, every time I relapsed, I'd drag my butt back into meetings. and my sponsor would be there, and he'd go like, yep. He said, well, this is what you need to do now. And I'm going like, well, maybe, you know. And people would say, well, did you surrender yet? And I said, no, I quit using. That's what you do, right? He said, did you surrender? And I'm going like, right over my head. Just didn't understand the concept, you know. And I'd get a couple of weeks, I'd go back out, and it would get worse, and I'd come back in, you know. But I don't want to stay out there a day or two. But I knew what people told me when I got here. They said, you know, if you go back out, you'll pick up right where you left off. And I went, oh no, it'll be different. I've been clean for 2 months now. I've been clean for a month. It'll be different. I'd pick back up and I'd be right back where I left off within 1 day. And that was like, ooh, that scared me. Because I'd get here and it's like, you people scared me. You know, I realized you people, we love you till you learn to love yourself, and we believe in you and we want to help you. And I was like, I don't know about that. You know, I realized I trusted the dope man out there more than I trusted people in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. And the dope man would say, here, stay right here, I'll be back. And I was like, okay, I'll stand right there until he got back. The insanity of this disease, that's what really got me, you know. But the thing was that I got a man that I believed in, and I wanted what he had, and I wanted what this program had. And he told me to get a basic text. So I got a basic text, and I started reading that, and I'm going like, okay, this doesn't make any sense to me. And he said, well, I'll start reading some of the stories out of the back. So I did that. I started reading some of the personal stories at night, and I'd go like, no, I didn't ever do this. I didn't ever do that. And I'd go like, man, this cat did the same things I did. He had the same feelings that I had. And the more I indulged into that book, I realized somebody was able to put down in words what I was feeling that I didn't know how to express. That's what it came down to. And I really grasped on what was in there. I started highlighting everything in that book. I tell my sponsor, it's like, oh yeah, I went to a meeting, I highlighted all this. He said, there'll come a day when everything in that book will be highlighted. And he was right, so that's when I quit highlighting my book. But I would, like I said, I bounced in and out. You know, I called him one night when I was loaded. I'm going like, I don't know what to do. And he says, where are you? And I told him, and he says, go home, go to sleep. Call me in the morning. I probably wouldn't have heard anything else, so I called him the next day. I said, I don't understand why I keep going back out. He says, you're an addict. You like to get high. I went, ooh. You know, that was like, okay, I like to get high, but I just don't like everything that goes along with it. He said, it doesn't work like that. So I knew that I just had to keep coming back. I knew I had to keep coming back. I kept relapsing, and my last relapse, it wasn't a whole lot of dope that I did. It's what it did to me. And that's like I heard, because when I got here, I listened to people's stories, and I'm going like, oh, well, I'm not done yet. I got a few more years left. I can keep on going. And they said, you know what you're done when you stop digging. And that's what it was for me. I knew I was done, and I needed to stop digging. So after that last relapse, I said, that's it, I'm done. I went to a convention. I went to my first FRCNA convention, and I surrendered. When I left that convention, I knew I was done. And it was a funny thing that happened with that. I was driving this old beat-up Chevy Impala. The only thing I took with me was a change of clothes and a screwdriver. And the screwdriver was to take the plate off the car wherever it died at. I was going to leave it because I knew that car wasn't going to make it to Orlando and back. But it did, and it got me to more meetings after that. And the thing was, too, in between that, before all those relapses, every car I got, I lost. It didn't matter what I got, I would lose that car. I got this nice Ford Bronco, I lost that. I got this nice Escort, I lost that. I had all these cars and I lost them. So when I finally got clean, I said, you know, I had that Chevy and I kept that around and kept me going to meetings, kept going to work, doing what I needed to do. And I bought this nice Oldsmobile Cutlass, and it was like midnight blue. And I mean, this car was beautiful. And there were times that I wanted to use it, and I'd look at that car and it'd go, you know, you're going to lose that car. That car's going to be the first thing to go. And I went, yeah, I don't want to lose that car. It kept me clean. I sold it to another recovering addict. Guess what? It kept him clean. So that was pretty cool how that worked. But it was like all those questions that I had when I got here. It's like, I didn't know how to stop using. You know, I still smoked when I got here. I had to quit using a lighter because I could take a lighter and turn it into a blowtorch in like 2 seconds. So I quit carrying a lighter. I carried matches. I do all these things. And I'd ask my sponsor, I'm going like, I don't understand how this works. I mean, those thought hits me that I want to use, and I'm going to go use, and I don't know how to stop that. And he said, well, whenever that thought hits you, he said, say the serenity prayer over and over. And I said, why would I do that? He said, if you're saying the serenity prayer over and over in your head, you're not going to think about using it because you can't think of two things at the same time. I went, okay, I'll try that next time it happens. And sure enough, it did work. It did work. And I knew no matter what happened, I could get to a meeting that night. And after I left that last FRCNA, I knew I'd surrendered. I knew I was done. I went to my sponsor. I said, okay, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to jump in with both feet. What do I need to do? He said, you need to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. I went, why do I need to do that? He said, well, I ain't seen too many people stay clean without doing that first. So I said, okay. So I did 90 and 90. I went back to him and said, what do I do now? He said, do another 90 and 90. And I said, why? He said, well, I did it 5 times in a row, worked for me. So I knew that's what I needed to do. I needed to keep my butt going to meetings. So that's what I did. Got involved with my home group. I made coffee in my home group, became chairperson. I took ownership of the coffee pot. It's like, I could try to give it away. Nobody would take it. And when I finally said, no, I'm keeping it. This is my job, my responsibility. That's when everybody wanted it. And I was able to give up that position. So I would go to meetings, all the things they talked about. I had about 5 months clean, and I started trying to work that first step. And I told my sponsor, I said, I don't know how to work this first step. What do I need to do? And he said, it's real easy. He says, we're powerless over addiction that our lives become unmanageable. And I told him, I'm not powerless over my addiction. I said, I know what happens every time I use. The blinders go on, I'm off and running until all the money's gone, whatever else I can sell, and I'm jonesing at the end of the night. And he says, what about the second part of that step? Which says our lives become unmanageable. And I went, well, yeah, my life's a train wreck. That's why I'm here. He said, you think it might have something to do with your drug use? And I went, well, maybe. Yeah, I was willing to take a look at that. You know, I was stubborn. I was bullheaded when I got here, and I was very naive and learned a lot of stuff about using when I got here that I didn't know. And but the thing was I kept coming back, and I'd meet people in recovery. They'd come in, they'd be fresh out of treatment, and they'd do, oh yeah, I did my 4th and 5th step, and life is good and everything. And I'm sitting there going like, shit, I've been here longer than you, and I ain't even got off my 1st step yet. I don't know what's going on. He said, you're right where you're supposed to be. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're fine. And they were doing so good, they went right back out the door and never saw them again. So it's like, and then I'd be still sitting here going like, I'm still stuck on my 1st shift, and I don't know what I'm doing. And he said, you're right where you're supposed to be. So that's what I did. I kept coming back, and the first time somebody asked me to sponsor him, I had about 8 months clean, and the guy said, hey, will you sponsor me? And I was like, sure. I said, well, no, I didn't say sure at first. I said, let me talk to my sponsor first. And I said, this guy asked me to sponsor him. What should I do? He said, say yes. And I said, I don't know how to sponsor anybody. He said, just kind of tell them the same things I've told you. So I said, okay, I can do that. So sponsored this guy. He stuck around for about 30 days, and then he was gone. The next guy would ask me, and he'd stick around for a couple of weeks, and he'd be gone. And then somebody else would come up and ask me to be the sponsor. I'd go like, no, the kiss of death. You're a goner. You know. Finally, somebody stayed, and that was important because it finally got me over myself. It got me over my ego. And I got involved in service early on. My sponsor was involved in service. He taught me about service, taught me all the things I needed to know. And I asked him, he said, you're going to be GSR for a home group. And I'm like, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing. I said, what does this entail? And he said, well, we just go to area service and we'll vote on some issues and da-da-da-da. So I showed up my first area service, and I get there, and the guy's like, it's just going to be like last month when nobody showed up with the key. I went, wow, what did I step into? But the only thing I remember about that is they voted on some issues, they argued, and they said, we're going to do it again next month. That's what I remember about that. And I asked him, I said, how do you do this stuff? I mean, I don't understand what the service stuff is about. And he said, well, any issue that comes up in Narcotics Anonymous, he says it has 2 criteria. He says the first thing is, how does it affect the addict that's here today? And the second criteria, how does it affect the addict that walks in tomorrow and never heard of us? He said, if you use that criteria, you'll be fine. And I went, wow, that was pretty heavy. I still use that today. Anything I vote on, anything in the car, anything in home group, anything in area service, that's the criteria that I use. How does it affect the addict that's here today and the one that's going to walk in tomorrow? So that's what I did, and it seems to be working. I got to the point where I went to my sponsor and I said, I'm tired of going to these meetings, hearing the same people say the same shit over and over. He told me those are the same people going to save your life. And he was right. I mean, I had all this negativity, and in one sentence, he completely turned it around. So I asked him, I said, well, what do I need to do? And he says, I'm not going to tell you what to do. He said, because you won't listen to me anyway. He said, besides, I'm not going to take responsibility for your life. He said, whatever you do, you got free reign. You can do whatever you want. And he said, when you screw it up, let me know. So that's what I did. I learned through that process. I got here and I tell people, when I did that 4th step in Narcotics Anonymous, it wasn't so much the stuff I did while I was using, it was the stuff I did clean. Those were the behaviors that I didn't change. It's like you got an asshole on drugs, you take away the drugs, what do you got left? That was me. That was it. Those were the behaviors I needed to change. Those were the things that I needed to learn how to do better. So that's what I did. And I got that sponsor, and I started indulging into the 2nd step. And I told him, I said, I don't understand what this is about. And he says, it's easy. Just write down, make a list of all your insanities in your life. I went, well, if I can do that. He said, yeah, it's easy. Just write down all the crazy things you've done. So I started making that list, and I worked on it for a couple months. And I went back to him and I said, I've been working on this list, and I don't think I'm done yet. He said, well, keep going to meetings, listen, talk about the second step. So I said, okay. So I went to a meeting and raised my hand. I said, I need some information on the second step. And everybody in the room sharing about the second step. And this girl shared, she said, using drugs was a real insane thing to do. And I went, that's not on my list anywhere. That wasn't insanity for me. That was a solution. But when I heard it that way, it made sense. And I was able to finish that second step. And I got to that third step and it talked about God. And I was like, whoa. I'm out. And I was ready to head for the door. And he said, no, it's the God of your understanding. It can be whatever you want it to be. And so I would start asking people, well, what is your higher power? You can ask 100 people, you get 100 different answers. And that's how it was for me. So I really didn't understand. They said all it has to be is loving, caring, greater than yourself. And that's what I wanted. For me, it was Narcotics Anonymous. That was a power greater than myself. It was loving and it was caring and it was greater than myself because I knew any two addicts could take me outside, kick my ass. That was a power greater than myself. But that was my first grasp of what a higher power was. And that they talked about the God and this and that. And I was like, That first step took me a couple of years to get through. It really did, because I had a lot of resistance to that because during my addiction, my dad had passed away, and I blamed God for all that and all the carnage that came along with it. So it was all God's fault. So I didn't want anything to do with it. If this is what God is, I'm done. So I had to get some acceptance with that and get some realizing that, wait a minute, that power that got me here is still with me today. Even though I may not agree with what his goals are, it's like maybe I need to pay attention to what's going on here. So I started asking a lot of different questions, and I started listening for a lot of answers. So what I did, I went back to the church I was raised in, and I stuck around here long enough. People told me, they said, there's a difference between spirituality and religion. And I didn't think there was. I thought it was one and the same. I thought, you talk about spirituality, you're talking about religion, you're talking about God. It's like, nope, I'm out of here, I'm gone. But they said, no, these are spiritual principles that we live by. And it's like, oh. So that's what I did. I went to that church that I was raised in, and I heard about 10 minutes of spirituality, and the rest was all dogma. But the first time that I could see the difference. So I started doing a lot of church shopping. I started looking at different religions, different beliefs, what everybody looked at. And that's what I started to recognize, focus on the similarities, not the differences. And that's what I did. And that's how I found my higher power. And it's still with me today. It keeps changing. Everything in my life keeps changing. That's the cool thing about it. But the two constants that I have is I stay clean. I got a God that loves me. And those are the best things that I got going on today. It took me almost 5 years to finish that 4-step. Because like I said, I became a service junkie. I was involved in PR, I was doing H&I, I was doing all this stuff. And he said, well, yeah, what's your steps? I said, well, I'm doing this service over here, and I'm doing this at the home group, and I'm doing it. And he said, what about your steps? And I said, yeah, they're over here in the corner collecting dust. When the pain of not doing it becomes greater than the pain of doing it, that's when you do it. And that's what it came for me. So it took me almost 5 years before I finished that 4-step. And at the time, my sponsor was going through a lot of changes. He was getting divorced and whatnot, and he was moving, and I was like, I got to find another sponsor. I was like, ah. So it's like I finished up that 4-step, I was ready to do a 5th step. I got a new sponsor, and I went to him, I said, this is where I'm at in my recovery, and I'm ready to do a 5th step. And he said, I'm not going to do it with you. And I'm like, what? I said, you're my sponsor now. You're supposed to do a 5th step with me if I ask you. And he said, nope. He says, I don't want to put up anything between us that could jeopardize that relationship. And I went, I felt like I was too pushed to the side. So I said, okay. So I went back to my original sponsor before he left, and did my 5th step with him. And he told me, he said, it doesn't matter what you put in there. He said, you're all going to share. You're going to share it all in the meeting at one time or another anyway. No, that never happened. I'll never talk about this stuff in the meeting. Over the years I have. I've shared it one time or another, all the things that I've done, but it's on that 5th step. And that's pretty cool how that happened. So when I got this new sponsor that I still have today, I've had him for 28 years. So amazing relationship that I have with this gentleman. Met him and his wife, and came down from North Carolina, riding on the back of a Harley motorcycle with golf clubs on the back. Said, I'm coming down to Florida to become a professional golfer. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. He said, yeah. He said, this is something I always wanted to do. And he says, I'm doing it, doing the deal. So he became my sponsor, and it became a man I trusted, and been able to work through the steps with him and work on that relationship. After like I said, when I got here, I was married, got divorced, and all that craziness and all the crazy stuff we go through in relationships and early recovery. Yeah, that was me. I didn't know how to have a healthy relationship for a while. Then I finally met this woman, and we got married after about 6 years clean and recovery. He was my best man at the wedding, and he told me, he said, still got time to run. Still got time to run. Got married. He said, too late now. And now I understand what you're talking about, because a few years later, we got divorced. But that's a whole nother story. But during that time, I remember calling him one night. My house got robbed. I was at work, and she was at work, and somebody robbed the house. I got home, called the cops. I called him, and I said, I'm crying to him. I said, man, they broke in my house, and they stole my stereo, my TV, and all my stuff. And he said, well, what about all those houses you broke into? How do you think those people felt? I went, I don't want to talk to you anymore today. You know, my sponsor has a way of pissing you off. And if your sponsor doesn't piss you off every now and then, he's probably not doing his job. You know, because if only one person's doing all the thinking, you're probably not paying attention. You know, so he kind of called me on the floor on that one. So I said, okay. So went through that process, and I got to the point to where I had almost 11 years clean, and 10 years clean, and it was like life was good. You know, I got remarried, got the house, the kids back, the job. And the only thing that was missing was the white picket fence. And so I was like getting slack. Like most of us, I had 10 years clean, and it was like, yeah, I'll go to a meeting tonight. Maybe, you know, I'd catch them one a week. And then I'd miss that, and I'd catch, 2 meetings a month, and I'm going like, I just kind of fell back on my laurels. You know, because life had gotten so good. And that summer I was traveling, and the wife had went up to DC, and I drove up there. We went to Chicago to see my aunt who was dying. Coming back, hit Fort Wayne, Indiana. Never been to Fort Wayne in my life, probably never go back. But she got sick as a dog. We had to take her to the hospital. Doctor said, you just need to be, R&R for about 3 days. So here we are stuck in Fort Wayne, nothing to do. I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs going, well, maybe I'll go catch a meeting. So I go to this meeting in Fort Wayne, shared a little bit about why I was there, and it was my anniversary weekend, and I didn't know where I was going to celebrate, and had 10 years clean, and picked up a key tag, and after the meeting, this guy picked up a white key tag for a relapse, came up to me and said, I had 10 years and I went back out. I mean, God just speaking it loud and clear, smacked me upside the head. I got back, told my sponsor what happened. I knew I needed to recommit myself to Narcotics Anonymous. That's what I did. I made that commitment to do another 90 and 90 when I got back from that. Got back involved, did all the things that I was doing before. 11 years clean, guess what? I got divorced. And it was like, I was so glad that I reestablished that foundation, because without it, I wouldn't have made it. I'd have been using. I know I'd have been using, because I remember leaving a meeting that night, and I'm going across the bridge, and I'm going like, my brain is screaming, turn left, you know where to go. And the other side of my brain said, there's nothing you can do, go home. And the other side said, no, go over here, you know what to do. And I was like, go home, that's all you can do. And that's what I did. I finally went home and just said, I'm done, nothing I could do. I called him the next day and told him what happened. And became a big trust issue for me in the rooms, because a lot of people in the rooms down there knew what was going on. And I just felt like I couldn't come to meetings and share about what was happening in that relationship. I felt very vulnerable, very shameful. It felt like people were sitting there waiting for me to share, the NA hotline, spread all the gossip out there, and I wouldn't do it. I'd go to meetings and I'd share a little bit, but I wouldn't talk about what was going on. But what I would do is I'd get my sponsor over to my house, I'd get my sponsees, I'd cook them dinner, we'd have a meeting and talk about what was going on. And I started getting some of that trust back. Well, he told me about this retreat they had up in North Carolina. I was like, maybe I ought to go to do that. So I went to the men's retreat, sponsorship family retreat. First time in a long time that I could talk about what was really going on with me. I feel like I could let my walls down with the men in my family, my sponsorship family. What was going on? And that was scary. It was very scary. One of my sponsee brothers, when we were there, the guys that were up there up in North Carolina, they were just having a relationship with his ex-wife and whatnot, and they were just ribbing him hard. And I'm just sitting back going, like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing that. And I told my sponsor, I said, did you see what they did to him? Did you see what they did to Doc? I can't believe that. He said, well, maybe you ought to go talk to him. So that's what I did. I went and talked to him that night. And it was the first time in a long time, it's like, whew, I felt at home and I felt comfortable. And I got back and it's like, I need to move up there. I said, but like they told me, they said, no major changes for the first year. My sponsor said, well, maybe you don't want to make any changes for the first year. It's like, oh, shit. So that's what I did. I stayed in touch with him. I did all the things I was supposed to do, but I knew my heart was up there. And I went back to that following year, that retreat, and I said, I'm going to move up here. So after that, I sold the house, moved up to North Carolina. The kids were 15 and 16. And the girls are like, well, we want to live with mom. And I'm going like, probably be a good idea. I said, because if you don't, you're probably not going to make it to 18, because they were getting at that rebellious age, and I'm just going like, dude, that 2 girls. It's like, yeah, I gotta give it to mom. So that's what we decided to do, and I also from her that they would resent me forever, and I got a very good relationship with my kids today, which is important, and my grandson, which is really cool. So I was able to move to North Carolina, and it was very spiritual for me. It was very healing time for me to get back to what was missing in my life. And I changed careers while I was up there. I worked in a factory down in Florida for 20 years. I had enough of that. I got to a point to where they didn't want me there, and I didn't want to be there. But the money was good, but it's like that was the only thing that was keeping me there. And I'm going like, why do I keep doing this? And I'm sitting on the couch one night, and I hear this guy say, Tim Allen. He was talking about his show, Tool Time, and they asked him, they said, well, why'd you give up your show? They said, ABC came to you and said, offered you $1 million an episode, you turned them down cold. He said, when it's about the money, it's about over. And I knew God speaking to me loud and clear. Sometimes you never know where you're going to get that answer from, and I heard that answer loud and clear. So when it's about the money, it's about over, and I knew it was time to go. So I moved up there, changed careers, and it was a very good time for me. It was great living up there in North Carolina. I was up in Greensboro. So many meetings up there. So much recovery up there. You get a Wednesday night schedule. It's like 5 meetings you could pick from anywhere in town. It's like, wow, this is so cool. People would go like, I had to drive 5 miles to get here. And I would start laughing, going like, you have no idea how good you have it. I said, when I got cleaned down in Florida, it was like, you want to catch a meeting every night? Okay, you're going to go 15 miles this way, 15 miles that way. You might have to go 50 down on the weekend, go down to Palm Beach, this and that. There just weren't that many meetings. So it's like so cool to see how this fellowship has grown over the years. So I had about 5 years up there. I wound up moving down to Savannah, Georgia for the job, because I was going backwards, living in North Carolina. I got a really good job and good career, but they told me, they said, because they trained you here, they got you grounded in this career, they're not going to pay you more. So, and they were right. So I moved down to Savannah, got a great job. And my first month there, I was like, oh my God, what did I step into? Because I looked at it, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go check out the job, see what they're offering, a lot more money, make sure there's meetings, make sure the beach wasn't too far away. So those were the 3 criteria. And so when I moved down there and I found out how small the area was, I didn't realize when I moved there, the whole east coast of Georgia was one area 15 years ago. I mean, from Savannah all the way down to Brunswick, all the way almost to Waycross, that was all one area. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I told my sponsor, I was like, I don't know if I can stay here or not. I've seen this happen before. You know what happens. Keep going to meetings, it'll grow, it'll change. And it has. And I watched the area split, I've watched it grow. I've seen it split again a couple of years ago. Meetings are still happening, people still showing up. And that retreat I used to go to, that kind of got pushed to the wayside, and my sponsor said, we need to start this retreat up again. He told me, well, you're in Savannah, Georgia, why don't you start it up again? You know what? I guess I could find a spot for us. So we've been having a men's retreat every April down there in Savannah. We got guys from South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, all the way out. So my sponsorship family goes all out, way out. It's great. And it's been pretty amazing to see all the guys come every year. This year we're going to have our seventh retreat, and they're going like, man, we're so glad to do it. I got the easy part. I don't have that far to go. You guys travel all these distances to come to this. I'm right here, so it makes it real easy for me. It's a committee of one, and I told them, here's the books. I'll show you everything that's going on. I said, no, I trust you. I ain't worried about it. I said, most of the time I go in the hole anyways. I said, it's worth it. And I think one year I lost like 300. I'm like, well, what about that? I said, you probably paid that much getting in gas to get here. I said, it's no problem. So it's real cool. I've got a great relationship with my sponsor. His wife passed away a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago, and I was able to be there for him and watch, help him out. All the sponsee brothers were there for him. I got to spend some time with his wife before she passed. She's an amazing woman. She did a lot of good for a lot of people in recovery. That was a cool thing that I was able to be a part of that. been able to be part of his life. He's been able to be a part of my life. That relationship has grown so much. It's just, not what I expected would happen. It really wasn't. It keeps changing. It keeps growing. This year I retired, which was amazing. I told him, I said, I just want to make it to the bonus round. He said, I got news for you. You're already there. So, it's going to be all right. And he'd say, what do you mean going to be? It already is. And I'm like, you're right. It is. It already is. Most important thing he ever taught. He said, two of the biggest lies we tell ourselves as addicts. He said, the first lie is when things are going bad, we tell ourselves, this shit ain't never going to end. And the other lie is when things are going good, we tell ourselves, this ain't going to last. And that's as addicts, that's so true. That basic text, I love it. That's what I got clean on. One of the guys I sponsored a few years ago, he wanted to do the flat book. I never done the flat book, so we did it together. So that was kind of like a cool process to go through the 12 steps with a sponsee brother. I got guys up there I sponsor, or over in Savannah that I sponsor. And it's amazing watching them stay clean and seeing them come back and get involved in service. And they'll come to me and say, you got all this knowledge. And I said, all you got to do is ask. I'm more than willing to share. I said, that's what it's about. Like I listened to the speaker tonight. It was great because I feel that way a lot. And come here this weekend, it's great because I'm around a lot of my predecessors in my area. I'm like the old guy. It's like, oh yeah, he's already got it. And it's like, yeah, some of the stuff I go through. We went down to my sponsor a couple of years ago, and I forget what it was I was going down there. I was complaining about. And he said, come on, let's go to a meeting. So I said, we're going to a meeting. I'm sitting there with my arms folded. And the newcomer guy says, can you give me a ride home? Yeah, okay. You can hop in the back. And just can't wait to drop him off. And he's going the whole time. He said, man, I just got 30 days clean. So I'm getting ready to get my TV out of the pawn shop. He said, I'm so excited about this. I mean, he was like, man, I finally get some of my stuff back. This is great. I'm like, yeah, okay. We drop him off. We drive off. My sponsor looks at me and said, remember just getting your TV back was a big deal? And all that stuff I went down there with complaining about just went right out the window. But how important is that? What's important is that we're clean today. We got this way of life that's beyond our wildest dreams, and that's so true. And that's why I keep coming back, because I'm going to give back what was so freely given. I appreciate you guys letting me come up here and share a little bit tonight. And my name's Frank, and thanks for helping me stay clean.